Hi, if this is your first winter with chickens, I wanted to go ahead and walk you through the things that matter, not the things that will cause panic, and the things that you don't really need. This is what's going to help keep your chickens genuinely happy and healthy. Unfortunately, a lot of what I've learned about chickens has been the hard way. Winter is definitely not the time to overcomplicate things, but most chicken winter issues are going to come down to a few basic things. Once you get these right, the rest gets so much easier. The number one priority, no matter what kind of coop you have, if you have a hoopty like me or a super fancy one, or you've bought one from Tractor Supply or something like that, is to make sure that it is draft free. Now, I do want to clarify that draft free does not mean that there's no ventilation. Ventilation is obviously very important. You do want to make sure that your chickens are blocked from the wind. As you can see from what's going on in the background, I am in Oklahoma. It is very windy here. Today, I know it looks very confusing because it looks sunny and nice, but it is a cold day. It's 35 with a crazy wind. The cold, the temperature is not what hurts your chickens. It's going to be the wind. The wind is going to be what causes frostbite, what makes them lethargic. Up next is a dry coop. A dry coop is just as important as making sure that you are blocking the wind. A lot of people tend to put their water in their coop with them when it gets cold because they don't want them to have to come out into the run or somewhere where it's colder. And that is a bad idea because that moisture is going to rise. It's going to get to your chickens. It's going to cause frostbite, whether it's on their comb or their wattles, whatever the case is. You don't want to put water directly into their coop. You want to make sure that it is dry. Make sure that their roof is fully functioning. It does not have any leaks for when snow or rain comes. And that moisture combined with the cold air is going to definitely make a frostbite a big problem for your chickens, especially your roosters. This also goes back to making sure that if you live somewhere where it is cold a lot or you get very extreme cold, making sure that you pick a breed that is hardy and that is going to be able to hold their own in a very cold winter is really important too. I don't know if you can see, but right there, my little white Brahma, she is great for the winter. She's got the boots with the fur. She's very heavy. She's heavy set, so she thrives in the winter. Now, I do have a couple of smaller, skinnier ones that maybe don't do so good, and those ones I tend to find either hiding in the coop when it gets really cold or behind the run doors or somewhere where they're blocked and a little bit warmer. Another thing is you're going to want to make sure that you've given them some kind of bedding that is going to either like grab the moisture so that it doesn't rise, and something that's really good is going to be like your sand. Pine shavings hold on to moisture. There's lots of things that you can do that don't cost a lot of money to make sure that the moisture is being absorbed and it's not making its way to your chicken's feet. Something else that we didn't try until this year was the deep litter method that helps keep them warm. The idea is that chicken poop is so full of nitrogen that it's hot. And if you leave it in there and you let it stack, the heat is supposed to rise. You're supposed to be able to feel the temperature. I don't typically put my hands over there, so I don't know if it's warm. But what we do is we leave their poop there, and then we will put like a half a bag of shavings. Here you'll see my son went a little crazy with it, but we put a half a bag of shavings and then you kind of mix it up, and then that hotness from the nitrogen and the poop is going to rise and keep the chickens warm as they sleep at night and roost. It also provides a layer of insulation so that if you are in a colder night, that is something that can kind of help keep the chickens warmer, especially if you've like kind of made your own coop and there's maybe just plywood between. Having that insulation on the bottom is going to be really, really helpful for keeping your chickens warm as well. And remember, your coop does not have to be fancy. It literally just has to keep them safe. If you can keep out predators, if you can keep them dry, if you can keep them draft free, you are going to have some healthy, happy chickens on your hands. Something else that we do often is we give our chickens some high calorie snacks. This is something that you will add as a supplement. This is not their main source of feed, but we will give our chickens some grub terra worms because they are high calorie black soldier fly larvae, and they are going to help your chickens put on a little bit of extra fat to keep themselves warm. And it's nice and easy. The chickens love it. I don't have to overthink it. Another treat that I'm not a veterinarian or anything, so take my advice with a grain of salt, is I will give them a little bit of cheese and they go crazy for it. It's another way to make your chickens really be excited to see you, is when you give them a little bit of shredded cheese. That's also a high calorie snack. You just don't want to overdo any of these things. And like I said, this is a snack. It's not their main source of food. You're going to want to make sure that you are feeding them and watering them correctly. I also have a code for Grub Terra if you would like to try Grub Terra for your girls this winter. It is not too late, and they love it all year round, whether it's hot or cold. It's going to really help your chickens have nice hard eggs. It'll help them get their protein goals, and it's a really smart nutritional snack that every backyard chicken owner could use. So if you use my link below, you can get 20% off if that's something that you want to try. And one of the most important things that we learned the hard way last year was that if chickens' water freezes, they have no water to drink. Leaving them to eat the snow, if you live somewhere where it snows, is not healthy. It's not good for them. It brings down their internal body temperature, and it's overall just not good. You need to make sure that you are keeping their water able and access for them to drink whenever they can. We went ahead and made some winter coop upgrades, and we bought these heated waterers. They are really neat. They have a 9-foot cord. My son and I put them in, and they are temperature controlled. They do not turn on unless they sense that the temperature is low enough to freeze water. And so that makes it really nice also, because you're not wasting electricity unneeded. It's not going to be constantly hot on the days, like Oklahoma has very bipolar weather. One day it's 35, one day it's 65. So it's really nice that I don't have to think about it, and it'll just not go on when it doesn't need to go on. But making sure that your chickens have water is so essential. Chickens' eggs are like 70% water. If they don't have water, they can't lay. It makes for everything else a lot harder. All of their sicknesses and things like that can come from dehydration, and your chickens getting dehydrated is just not a route you want to take. I will go ahead and link these ones that I got as well, because they have been working really great for us so far. It's been a very mild winter here in Oklahoma so far. We haven't had any horrible days of like 21 like we did last year, so that's been good. But they have made the mornings a lot easier, because even at night, you know, if the daytime is 65, we're still finding that it gets down to like 32, 31, 29 at nighttime, and their water does freeze. So it is nice that I don't have to wake up super early, come and break the ice. They've got those heated waterers, and it does make keeping chickens a lot easier. So I will leave those linked for you as well. Another thing is if you live somewhere where you're going to get a lot of snow or ice, you're going to want to make sure that your chickens have some sort of walkway. Some people will put down hay as a little walkway so they can walk on it, because chickens do like to be out. They like to roam. The cold, it doesn't bother them as much as you think it bothers them. So they do like to get out and explore, but you want to keep their feet as dry as you can, and having some sort of access walkway like that is going to be really helpful. If you are able to shovel, that's another great way, but just making sure they have some sort of access to walk around so their feet aren't constantly in that ice cold water. Chickens really don't like unstable footing, so when they come out and they walk on ice, they're a lot more likely to stay where they are and not get out and explore and do what they want to do. So it kind of just makes for happier chickens when you can give them that access to where they want to go. On days when it is super cold here in Oklahoma, I tend to not let my chickens out in free roam at all. I feel like predators get a lot more desperate on those days, and they're more willing to come into our property and grab a chicken. So I like to keep them nice and safe inside their run. So one of the things you're going to want to do is make sure that you block the wind in your run also. We have added these plastic clear corrugated panels. They were super cheap, maybe $17 to $20 a piece. We only needed 2. We chose to cover the north side of the run because that is where our coldest wind comes through, and the house blocks the south side. So they are pretty much enclosed in and safe when in the run from this. Our roof hangs over a little bit, so it blocks any water from coming in. So they are nice and safe and protected inside this run. But you can literally make this as cheap as possible. I have seen some people cut up feed bags and make a curtain out of that, where they staple it to their run. I have seen people put dollar shower curtains as a way to block the wind and rain and things like that. You can make this as cheap as possible, but keeping chickens away from a cold wind is going to keep them healthy, happy, and safe. One of the most controversial tips that I have for you is to not add any heat for your chickens. Unless you live somewhere like northern Canada where it is unbearably and miserably cold, I do not suggest you add heat to your chicken coop, okay? For one, it's very dangerous. You will see all the time people's chicken houses burning down, losing animals because they added an extra heat source that they did not need to add. Chickens are little furnaces covered in down feathers. They naturally run at 106 degrees. They do not care that it's getting cold. And the more that you take away their natural ability to acclimate to the cold, the more harm you're doing. Because what if that heat source goes out and they have to go without it the next day, and then they're in a world of hurt because they were in a nice 80-degree coop and now they're in a 20-degree coop and their bodies can't handle it. Once chickens become used to having heat, losing it makes it so dangerous. It's more dangerous than if you had never added any heat at all. It is my advice that keeping your coop draft-free and dry is going to be the best survival for a chicken in a cold winter. And I also have a bit of advice where extreme weather is going to call for extreme measures. So if you are in somewhere where you're getting all of a sudden some awful temperatures where it's going to be like -20, that is a time where I would personally grab my chickens, make a little tent in the garage and have them in there and keep them somewhat warmer than what they would be outside. I still wouldn't add, any kind of heat source to it, but getting them somewhere where it's somewhat insulated and just a little bit warmer than it's going to be outside will help them. There are a lot of people who will say that they're animals, like how do the birds survive? That's just not the case, because I don't have chickens that are, wild survivors. They literally depend on me for every single bit of their survival. Their instincts aren't that great anymore. These are domesticated chickens. They are not made to survive wild instances at all. I would rather keep them safe and be inconvenienced for a day or two, clean up a mess, than have them die because I thought that, their natural bird instincts would suddenly kick in. So winter chicken care honestly comes down to just a few things. You want to keep your coop dry and draft free, hydrated and fed, and keep them a little fat and happy. You don't have to be perfect. You just really need to be paying attention to your chickens, to their water sources, making sure they're acting themselves and asking questions. The more questions you ask, the more you're gonna learn, no matter how many rude responses you get in your chicken Facebook group. If you are brand new to chickens, this video next is gonna be all about the mistakes I made when I first got my flock and what you can do to avoid those mistakes so that you keep your first flock unlike me. And I will catch you next time on Beauty and the Beaks.